Hello, dear students of the course. Today we will discuss the topic classification of vertebrates, the meaning of some systematic groups, the purpose of the lecture, to familiarize with the classification of vertebrates and the systematics, biology and geographical distribution of some important orders and families of mammals. We will consider the next questions. First, classification of vertebrates. Second, order Carnivora or carnivorous. And third, order Rodentia or knowing mammals. The lecture consists of two parts. In part one, we will consider the classification of vertebrates. Part one is presented in bilingual version. One of versions is in Kazakh language. In part two, we will consider the systematics, biology, and geographical distribution of some of the most important orders of mammals, such as the order of carnivores and rodents. The phylum Chordate unites about 43,000 species. The lower chordates are mostly of small size, all are marine, and most tunicates are sessile. All other chordates are free-living and none is strictly parasitic. The vertebrates include practically all living animals of medium to large size, including some huge sharks and whales. Vertebrates occupy all kinds of habitats, in salt and fresh waters and on land, most of the reptiles, birds and mammals being strictly terrestrial. Certain fishes, birds and mammals are gregarious, but most vertebrates are of solitary habit due to the fossils of chordates have not been preserved. The question of their origin remains controversial to this day. One of the scientists found that the ancestors of chordates were ringed worms, and another believes that they were coelomonid animals. The chordates are bilaterally symmetrical, with three germ layers, a segmented body, complete digestive tract, and well-developed coelom. Three outstanding characteristics distinguish them from all other animals. This is a single dorsal tubular nerve cord, the notochord, and the gill slits in the pharynx. These features all form in the early embryo of a chordate, and they persist altered or may disappear in the adult. The notochord is the first supporting structure of the chordate body. In the early embryo, it forms above the primitive gut as a slender rod of cells that contain a gelatinous matrix and is seated in fibrous connective tissue. In tunicates, it is present in the tail and only during the larval stages. In the lancelets and higher forms, it extends almost the length of the body. It persists throughout life as a main axial support in lancelet and lampreys, but in the fishes, to mammals, is later surrounded or replaced by the vertebral column. The nerve cord forms on the dorsal surface of the early embryo soon after the gastral stage. Enfolding of the ectoderm produces the hollow tubular cord that lies above the notochord. The anterior end becomes enlarged as a simple cerebral vesicle in tunicate larvae and in lancelets, but in all vertebrates it thickens and differentiates as a brain to become progressively more complex in higher forms. Paired gill slits develop on the sides of the embryonic pharynx. digestive tract. Each is formed by one outpocketing of endoderm in the pharynx, and corresponding in-pocketing of ectoderm on the outside of the body. The intervening wall breaks through to form gill slits. The characteristic development is seen in a shark or fish, in which each slit is margined by many slender filaments containing blood vessels to form a gill. The gill serves the process of external respiration. All aquatic chordates respire by gills. In amphibians, which transform from aquatic larvae to air-breathing adults, the gills are lost at metamorphosis. The reptiles, birds, and mammals all develop several pairs of gill slits during early embryonic life, but they are never functional and soon close. All these animals later acquire lungs for breathing air when they hatch or are born. Some vertebrates of great importance human affairs, such as the food and game fishes, the poisonous reptiles, and the many kinds of both useful and harmful birds and mammals. Some predatory species play an important role in cleaning agricultural pests. Other representatives are carriers of dangerous human diseases. The phylum Chordata is divided into 3 subphyla. Subphyla such as Tunicata, second Cephalochordata, and third vertebrates. Tunicata units 3 class: class Larvaceae, class Ascidiaceae, class Salvaceae. Only one class Leptocardi, lanceolets, belongs to the Cephalochordate subphyla. Subphyla vertebrates are divided into 2 groups Agnatha. These animals have not true jaws or paired appendages, and Gnatostomates with jaws, usually paired appendages. Group Agnatha include one class, Cyclostomates. Gnatostomates include 6 classes, cartilaginous and bony fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Thus, despite the large variety of species, 3 outstanding characteristics distinguish the chordates from all other animals: a single dorsal tubular nerve cord, the notochord, and gill slits in pharynx.